Welcome to the Andy Draper Show, VA Straight Talk. I'm your host, Andy Draper. Today we'll be exploring Veterans Court with Mr. Paul Skinner, Veterans Justice Outreach Coordinator at VA Source in White City. Welcome back, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, we talked a little bit about Veterans Court the last time we talked. I also was fortunate enough to be with you in court at one point where I got a chance to interview the judge there, Judge Adkisson.
Right.
And I asked her a few questions, and we're going to go with her questions and also get some of your responses to those same questions. So before we get started on the questions, there's a shot of a team meeting that's happening there. Can you tell us what's going on in that meeting?
Sure. So before the court starts each week, we go in and we staff those veterans that are on that docket that day. And so you have a treatment provider. We get data out of our VA medical records that pertain to how the veteran's participating in their treatment. Those that aren't going through treatment with the VA, they have the probation officer will give updates on those individuals on how they're doing. And so really what we do is we sit around, it's a team effort. We're there to see this veteran succeed in the program. It isn't just about their legal issues, it's about them getting healthy, getting help for their issues, whether it be mental health, homelessness, drug and alcohol issues. It's a team effort, and we're there at that table, and we talk about each one of those veterans before we ever go into the courtroom. And so the judge has an update, the most recent update that she can, before she sees those people individually.
Okay, so we're going to start with some questions with the judge. I'll ask the question, we'll see the judge's answer to that. Then we'll come back to you so you can kind of expound on that, if you will.
Okay.
So the first question is, for her and also for you, is how did you get involved in Veterans Court? And we'll
Our
see her
Veterans
answer.
Court came about around 8 years ago. I think this is our 8th year in the fall. Our district attorney at that time, Ed Caleb, came to me and said that he wanted to look into this new phenomena of veterans courts. And fortunately for us, we were able to, through the work of Mr. Tilson and Mr. Caleb, we got a grant to go back to Buffalo to be one of the training courts at a national program back there. And we got our team together during the summer, and in October we went back for training for a week, and then we came back here and started our Veterans Court the week of Veterans Day.
Okay, Paul, would you like to answer that same question for me?
Sure. So in 2010, we were already doing drug and alcohol treatments throughout the local communities, and Klamath County was one of those counties. And their district attorney at that time was Ed Caleb. He made contact to the VA through his office. The court coordinator over there, Steve Tilson. Kathy Pierce is the Veterans Service Officer over there. They asked if we could come over and have a meeting. We met over there. They discussed the treatment court. Ironically, Ed Caleb at that time, the district attorney, had seen on public television, had seen what veteran courts are all about, and he drew an interest to that, and so he proposed it to his community over there, and we were on board immediately with it. So in 2010, November the 9th, 2010, is when we actually met before that, but that's when the court stood up over there.
Okay, great. The next question for the judge and also for you was Jackson County is a big county that has a large veteran population. So my next question was, is it possible to have a veterans court in Jackson County? And we'll see how she responds to that.
We did not have any problem. As I said, Mr. Caleb came to me. We had the DA was the driving force on it. The court jumped right on board. The defense attorneys, Mr. Headland, who is our defense attorney still in the court, he was on board from the very beginning, went to the original training with us. We had the support of the people here at the CBOC. Over at White City, Mr. Skinner was one of the original team members. He's been consistent with us throughout. We had a real buy-in from our community and from all of the people that made up the team. We were able to have a really good team at the very beginning, and many of those, I would say we took 10 people. We still have at least 6 of the original members are still involved in our Veterans Court today.
On Jackson County.
Sure, in Jackson County, you know, I had the opportunity over the last several years to meet with different individuals there at the courthouse, the court administrator, and try to present. I actually met with a new district attorney as well, and I've had the opportunity to meet with a couple of the judges and try to propose on what the benefits would be to have a veterans court here. I was really not getting very far, to be honest with you. At least that was my opinion. There's a lot of people worried about the funding of it. There are grants out there for that, but over the last month, we have a couple of individuals in the community that are very interested in trying to get this thing started, to re-look at this issue of trying to get a court here in town. So we have a couple of attorneys out of the public defender's office there that we're already talking to, and they're networking with other individuals in the courthouse and stuff. So it's really looking promising. You know, I don't want to count my chickens before the eggs hatch, but it really is looking a lot more promising now than it has over the last year or two. So.
Yeah, it's real positive to hear that, especially considering our large veteran population in Jackson County. The next question is, how does Veterans Court differ from the regular court system? And we'll see what the judge had to say about
Well, our regular courts, we process people through a lot quicker. We don't spend as much time with them. We don't get to know them personally. We don't sit around before court and talk about how they're doing in all their programs, what are their needs. You know, this treatment court model, it would be ideal if we could do it for every criminal charge, but unfortunately we don't have the resources and you know, to do that. So it's a lot more personal court. We know our individuals more. They come to court more regularly. We keep in touch with their providers, mental health providers, substance abuse providers. As you saw during court, we have a probation officer who knows all of the people, and he comes to our meetings and he comes to court. He's there to support them and to redirect them when they need it. So it's just a lot more personal as opposed to administrative type of court, I guess.
perspective, because you have a different point of view as the VJO, can you see a difference between going into a regular court and helping a veteran route and treatment court?
Yeah, I think, well, the treatment court would be the route that I would go. I know I do have some vets that really don't want to go into a treatment court. You know, the Veterans Court, you know, for the most vets, they have to plead in for 18 months. It is a more personal, just like the judge has said, it's a more personal court. They're supervised by their probation department for the 18 months that they're in. They get treatment through the VA and or the community. I think one thing that the judge didn't mention is the mentorship program. So in a veterans court, they actually have veteran mentors that they get from their community that volunteer to come in. And so each veteran that pleads into court is assigned a mentor to help them through the different aspects that they have to go through legally to try to help them get to court on time, do the things they need to do, and or some of these vets have never gotten services through the VA, so they help them in that route too. It's extremely important to the court to have these mentors to help these veterans to regain their lives back. So.
Okay, so next we're going to look and see, the question is, are outcomes, do you see outcomes as being more positive in veterans court than the regular court system? And we'll see what the judge said about that.
For some people, I think, it's if we can keep them from doing worse, that's a victory. I mean, our goal would be obviously that somebody comes into our veterans court, does our program for 18 months and leaves and never comes back again. But that's an unrealistic goal. And so we have had people come back to our court and go through a second time. In fact, we have a couple participants right now who have been through court once before, actually graduated. But they did really well when they were in court, but it just wasn't enough. And so then we're back again. And it was amazing how quickly they got back on track once they came back into the court. So I feel that that's a victory. that we are recognizing their problems and addressing them right away. They're getting back to where they know they need to be, and they're being safe, good community members, you know, and a lot of them have family too. We have some that have family that we think that we're keeping those families maybe out of other areas, like, for instance, a dependency court. By having that person back in Veterans Court, we're keeping their family safer. So we've had some really, really good successes, people that we haven't ever seen back that came through on some fairly challenging cases. Then we've had some other people that we have had back. And we've obviously had some epic failures, but we've taken on some really challenging people. And I can't expect success from everyone just because of we're willing to take on some challenges.
Okay, Paulie, what are your thoughts about the outcomes?
You know, I agree with what the judge said. I think so. I think there's only been a few, you know, this court's been stood up since 2010, and there's, I mean, less than a handful of veterans have recommitted crimes or have had to come back through the court again. So, you know, they have a lot of positive success stories over there, and so you know, I'm all for Veterans Court all across the world.
Okay, so our next concern is, because I'm hearing there multiple issues can be addressed in Veterans Court, and I asked, was that correct? And we'll see how the judge feels about that.
It doesn't seem like it's very much time, but when you do staff before you come into court, you know more about the person, you know about what their treatment course is. In my regular criminal court, I don't know what the probation officer has been doing with somebody who's in on a violation. I don't know what courses of treatment they're in. I don't know what their mental health is. I don't know any of those things. I just know that they've violated their probation. And so I find them in violation, I ask what the sanction's going to be. So I don't really, even though I recognize them, I don't know them like I know some of our Veterans Court people. I just feel a more personal connection to Veterans Court and to the whole team. I mean, the team feels that connection to the veteran.
Does it seem to you also that multiple issues?
Oh, yes, yeah. So as in at a normal court, they're just there for their judicial reasons. You know, a Veterans Court, it's a team approach. They're going to be there not only addressing their legal issues, but they're also getting to address if they have mental health or addiction issues. You know, so they get treatment at the same time they get to address their legal issues. So it's you know, I feel that they feel there's support there from the team that's trying to help them through this process.
Okay, a unique aspect of the court is video court. And I asked the judge to talk a little bit about that, and then you can tell me your perspective on that. Okay.
Technology we have to use to our advantage. It's not always perfect, but because we have it and because we have the working relationship with White City and have that video connection, we can send people over there to get the really necessary treatment that we don't have available here in Klamath Falls, but also keep the court connection that's really important in treatment courts, is the accountability to the court. So that video link is about as personal as you can get while having somebody at a remote location.
Work from your perspective.
So this is kind of my baby. You know, I woke up at 3 in the morning. We had veterans going through treatment in White City that had to get over to Klamath. Well, it's extremely difficult to do that, especially in the winter months when the roads are bad. And so we came up with, at that time I was using a webcam, and so I called it the webcam court. And what I was told from national, we were the first one nationally to come up with a webcam court. We use it through our Tele-health program, which now recently they're telling me now they're calling what we're doing here in the VGO world as tele-justice. And so it makes it very convenient for the veterans that are going through residential treatment here in White City to be able to come to my office, and we use a program that's a computer program called Polycom that is on our iPad, and I connect to Polycom and it connects directly to the courthouse. So the veteran can sit right there and report to the judge. He's meeting his court requirements to see the judge on how often he has to see the judge. And then he's able to do that and see her just as close as you and I are together. And so she gets to hear from him, from the veteran themselves, on whether, how the treatment's going, what their plans are, what their housing's going to be like when they leave there and stuff. So I think this is one of the best things that the VA's come up with for us to be able to do, especially here in rural areas, for us to be able to still make that connection, meet those requirements, and the veteran can still maintain and stay in treatment instead of having to take a whole day to drive over to Klamath or up to Lake County or up to Salem or something. So,
Okay, that was kind of answered my next question which is, does video court give those people the opportunity to make it to court who usually wouldn't make it or don't have the means to make it? And I asked the judge that also, and we'll see.
When
her
we first
perspective.
designed the video court and decided that we were going to try to do it that way, our goal is that our participants would be actually living over in White City and getting their treatment there, and then the video was at White City and we were here, and we only had them appear once a month because it wouldn't make sense to have it more often. It would be disruptive to their treatment, disruptive to the flow of our court too. And then we did allow some people to live over there and appear by video because they wouldn't have transportation over to the court. But still, I think our desire would be that those people who are part of video court would be residents at White City, getting their treatment at White City. We try to work with people to make to help them have the most success that they can, though. So we have a participant over there who lives and works in Jackson County and appears by video to report to us, even though he's no longer at White City, although when he started out, he was in White City. So we would never let somebody just go to another county and live and appear by video. That would never work out for us.
Do you want to comment on that?
I've pretty much had already given.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I pretty much already given you that answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think what the judge said is exactly true. That it's helping us and it's helping the veteran in the long run. That's what it's all about.
Okay, so the last question was, how do you feel about Veterans Court? And I asked the judge also, and we're going to hear her response, and you can give us where you're at with that.
Thank you.
Obviously, I've been doing this for 7.5, almost 8 years. I feel like like a lot of things in Klamath County, we have really good community partners who work with us in Veterans Court. We have people who care about what they're doing and care about the people that they're doing it for. So, I love this court. Sometimes it's exhausting. It's more emotional than a lot of the courts that I do because I get to know the individuals so well, and I really care about their success. So it's a little bit harder court for me to do sometimes emotionally, but I think the rewards are worth it. And I really feel like the people that we work with in our team are the right people. And so it's positive. It's always a positive thing for me, even when we have a problem person. We work together. We really are a team, and you don't get to see that in most of the criminal justice system or even within the court system. I mean, you just don't see that kind of teamwork. So it's rewarding for me personally, and I think I speak for everybody on the team that it's just a really rewarding experience for us.
Over our time, Paul, but if you would address that for us really quickly, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, so I concur with what the judge says. I love veterans courts. My hope and desire and dream is that we'll have veterans courts throughout the southern counties here in Oregon. It's a win-win situation for the veteran, for the judicial system, and they can address their legal issues and address their SUD or mental health issues at the same time. So it's the best thing that the VA's come out with. I'm so proud to be a part of the VGO program, and thank you for this time.
Okay, once again, thank you, and thank you for all you do. Thank you all for being on the show today and watching the show. Thank you to all the volunteers for being here, all the people in the control room, and we will see you on the next show.